Good afternoon to you. Mark Sutter with HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion. It is Sunday, June 28th, 2020, and some very interesting things to show you today in the tropics, the tropical Atlantic. I'm going to preface this. There's nothing developing that we have to worry about, but those signs that I was saying we need to look for, they are starting to become a little bit more prevalent, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. We have some very neat graphics to look at today, starting off with the total precipitable water, this really cool animation. I mean, if there's ever any doubt as to what a tropical wave looks like, well, there you go. There it is, this nice wave of energy along the trade winds down there in the deep tropics. High amplitude, very vigorous tropical wave. You can see it pulling in the moisture out of the intertropical convergent zone down here. And that's got a lot of energy with it, a lot of heat. The one thing that is holding it back is the Saharan air layer here to its north. And the fact, basically correlated to that, is that it's late June. It's not August, it's not even early July just yet. Still climatology against this system developing, but that is the sign of a very vigorous tropical wave. And as such, the National Hurricane Center picking up on it, 10% chance of development over the next 48 hours, 20% over the next 5 days. And if we expand this outlook to 5 days, you see the development area potentially there. No threat to the islands. This is not likely to continue to develop much further, but it is a sign. Now, here it is in the main development region in late June. We have a system that's being monitored. That in itself is a symptom, and that's what we've been talking about for weeks and weeks now. Off the coast of the eastern part of the United States between Hatteras and Bermuda, a low-pressure area is expected to form in a few days. Some additional development, of course, this would be more of that subtropical hybrid kind of thing. Some energy is going to come off the mid-Atlantic region and then head out into the North Atlantic. We sometimes see that. In 2014, one of these pieces came off fairly far to the south, turned into Arthur, and passed over kind of like that, something like that. I was in that hurricane in 2014. That was 6 years ago. July 4th in the eye of Hurricane Arthur over Oregon Inlet. So there you go. So the tropics starting to pick up a little bit as we round out the month of June. In the eastern Pacific, an area that we need to watch over the next few days. But still, I will remind you, good news all around, that no threats to Mexico here, including up to the Baja, Cabo San Lucas, and vicinity. No worries just yet. We're very lucky in that regard. And we haven't even had a hurricane yet out in the eastern Pacific. Although I think that's going to change in the next week or so, modeling indicating that this region of the southeast Pacific will become quite active with two or three distinct tropical cyclones developing. All right, so we'll look at the Atlantic Basin wide shot, and a lot more in the way of just cloud cover right now. But the strong upper level winds, you can clearly see that cutting through here, cutting through here. Westerly winds abound, which is what you would expect in the month of June. It takes weeks and weeks into the hurricane season for the westerly winds to kind of retreat up here to the northern latitudes, and everything becomes favorable down here to the south. That just takes time, which again, that's a good thing. Otherwise, we'd have too many hurricanes and nobody would be able to live along the coastline. But there is our system right there, the tropical wave. It's Invest 96L. That is what the Hurricane Center terms this. 96 is the number. They use 90 through 99, the letter L for Atlantic. It's actually AL 96 or 96AL, whichever way. Us weather geeks, we just shorten it and call it 96L. Lots of dry air, dust, and it's not so much the dust. It's just this dry mid-level air around it. So any of these thunderstorms that pop up, and we can show you that here on a close-up satellite loop, any of these thunderstorms that pop up, and there's one right there. Watch this in the loop. Let me change this to blue. So watch this. This is really cool right there. There's a thunderstorm. It's going to pop up in that blue area, and then it dissipates very quickly. Why? Why are we not getting persistent upward motion in the atmosphere down there or convection. And in fact, what I want to do, because this is important, this is your lesson for the day. Let's wait for this. I think I can, yeah, there we go. The beauty of using these tools. So the thunderstorm pops up there. There's even one little lightning flash detected. All right, so that thunderstorm pops up, and we're looking right here in case you didn't know. That one little thunderstorm pops up, and then it dissipates. Poof. Well, where did it go? What happened? And how come there aren't any thunderstorms over here? Well, it's because the air is too dry. It's too warm above this tropical wave. The air is warmer than it should be because of that Saharan air layer. And that prevents convection because, let's draw over here in this little blank area. You need air to rise like this in the atmosphere, and then the air is able to come in from all sides, because of the Earth's rotation counterclockwise during that rising motion. We do have that. You do have the turning, but we're just missing the rising motion. In other words, the vorticity is there, and we can see that in the vorticity signature, fighting African dust here in the office. But it's stretched out, it's not focusing, and it's going to have a hard time doing so without deep thunderstorms to lower the pressures, continue the convective process over time. But it's interesting nonetheless that we have something out there at the end of June. I think we can all agree to that. Here's what it looks like in the modeling. This is the GFS from the 12Z run. There's the tropical wave right there. Some trough energy coming off the east coast of the United States. That will move on out. We put this into motion. You see what happens. Really, it's interesting right there. It's like a tiny little tropical storm symbol down in the deep tropics with 96L. But, that's really stretching, looking and reaching for it there. But off the east coast, a little bit of energy tries to get going. But you see there's nothing that really gets your attention here in the Atlantic Basin through the main development region, nothing in the Caribbean or the Gulf. That, though, in the Eastern Pacific, that's what we're looking for. We want to see if something gets its act together like that system. There's another one that comes along, and conveniently it goes right in front of my arrow. So you see the Eastern Pacific, that's what we're talking about. These little bundles of energy that come together. Luckily for Mexico, like I mentioned, they seem to be staying far enough offshore. But it's interesting, too, these little impulses that come off the United States, head out over the North Atlantic there, and try to develop into these sort of hybrid systems, big Atlantic storm, whatever. We're 294 hours out in time. That's pretty far. Now, speaking of way out in the future, this is an important tweet from Eric Webb that I'm going to show you, and it's something that we're going to have to watch as we get into about the second week of July. We only have 2 more days in the month of June. Then we get into July, and I know you're like, hey, congratulations, Mark, your months of the year. But this is serious, all right? So check this out. Truly thankful it's not September, because this is the most favorable subseasonal look you can possibly get for Atlantic tropical cyclone activity. That is a bold statement, but he's not wrong, as they say. Wow, that's the most favorable look that you can get in the subseasonal state for Atlantic tropical cyclone activity. So we should see, as he goes on to say, some exceptionally impressive African easterly waves, that's what these tropical waves are, within the next 3 weeks or so, regardless. And what are we looking at? Well, basically what I want you to understand, the time frame. This is 360 hours out, roughly. So this ends around the 13th of July or so. So yeah, we're getting towards mid-July, way out in time, but this is a big signal. These larger signals are much easier for the models to pick out, especially the ensemble packages, the ensemble prediction system. And so when you talk about 2 weeks out, you're not looking for individual small weather features. It's these larger And that key word right there, subseasonal. This is the signal we're talking about. And this is upward motion in the atmosphere, stretching across much of the Atlantic basin, sinking motion over here. So I'll draw an arrow going down, arrow going up here. And as we get to mid-July, early to mid-July, that's the window of opportunity. The Saharan air layer likely to kind of wane a little bit, and we start to really increase the amplitude and the energy of these tropical waves as they come off Africa, and a good deal of the Western Hemisphere in the green, so to speak. So we got to watch that very closely. It could make for a very, very interesting early to mid-July for the Atlantic basin. You know what it is? I forgot to bring my water up here. It is, I have the air conditioning going, the fan was going earlier, so my throat's kind of dry. I just got to remember to bring my water. So anyhow, I'll be fine. Interesting things going on in the tropics, but nothing to worry about in terms of a specific threat. That's the summary here. But these signals, I'm telling you, they continue to be quite impressive, and we have to take note and make sure that we are ready. And this outlook and what the Hurricane Center puts out and other reliable sources that you follow on social media can help you to do just that, and that is to be ready, be aware first of all, and we take it one day at a time. All right, so there you go. Kind of brief today, I guess. I didn't ramble on about anything unnecessarily, and that's always a good thing. You guys have a great rest of your Sunday. Of course, I'll be back with more for you tomorrow. Remember, Monday is the longer of the tropical, these outlook and discussion videos, because we go into more detail about other topics related to the season as a whole. You know, how's the La Nina look doing, sea surface temperatures, that kind of thing. So yes, we will be probably 25 minutes tomorrow, and in that we will be including this look at what's going on with these new systems in the Atlantic and the Pacific. All right, have a great rest of your Sunday, like I said. And I am Mark Sudduth. I haven't said that yet. Thanks as always for tuning in. I do appreciate it. I'll be back with more for you tomorrow.